Good day, everyone, to all our viewers. Today we have Mrs. Divya Puri from Karan Puri Foundation. This interview would not have been possible. First of all, let's give our remembrance to Mrs. Puri, her mother, late Mrs. Puri, without whom this NGO wouldn't have been started going. About Karan Puri organization, they have been working for the furtherment of dogs as well as all the stray animals. They have a kitchen working in South Delhi, as well as they're feeding 400 to 500 dogs on every day. So, welcome, ma'am. Thank you for inviting us to this interview, ma'am. It would be an honor.
Thank you. Thank you for having me over. Thank you.
So, ma'am, how did you get into this idea? Like your mother, Mrs. Aarti Puri, was already there in this profession. So, how did you decide?
I think Vivek, the love for dogs started when we got our first dog. Our first dog was a lab. We got him way back in 2000. And when we used to take him out for walks, so all the colony strays used to come and play with him and walk along with him. So then we realized that there is actually not a lot of difference between a dog, which is the pedigree lineage that you have in your house as a pet, and a dog who's actually on the street. So that time we started feeding one, then two and three, and then somebody, then slowly we realized that the population increases multifold because there is no sterilization happening. So those were the learnings on the ground. We started getting them sterilized. 3 became 10, 10 became 15. And I think COVID was a turning point for our foundation, where overnight we increased our feeding to so many dogs, because humans everybody cared for.
Yeah.
Animals were the like nobody even thought about them. Not even, I would say, last is a very big thing. Nobody even thought that how these dogs who are surviving on garbage, on restaurant leftovers, on leftovers from the street vendors, how will they survive? So I think COVID was a turning point where we increased our feeding to the current number, and we continue to feed the same number of dogs.
That's a very noble thing that when you say that you have started feeding dog, see, that's a chain event. I'll tell you how I started with the dogs. I never kept a dog till the age of 10 or 12 because at the age of 5, I was bitten by a dog that to hair, this forehead.
Oh, oh,
Exactly.
oh.
I was 4 or 5 years old, something happened, and that dog bit me. Okay, what happened was my mother was praying to God that unfortunately enough, my eyes were saved because that's a canine that we are seeing it. Okay,
Oh, oh, oh,
so it was a
oh.
near-death experience.
Must be very scary.
Yes, ma'am. My father wasn't here. He was somewhere outside of the station. So due to his posting, he had to go out. So mother was all alone. So then she was like, no dog. Okay. Then slowly and steadily, this all started happening. So, ma'am, your mother's life is actually truly inspirational for all of us. That how she managed her daily routines, how she managed to get the life on track after your father passed away. So, ma'am, can you please tell us about the role that she played in the organization?
I think Karan Puri would have not been what it is without her. I mean, to say, I take no credit for this organization. I did nothing except for probably some physical work. It was her contribution, whether it was managing the staff, whether it was contributing financially, whether it was fighting with people. She was ever ready to do that for the dogs, because see, it's not easy feeding such a large number of dogs, because it's not one place that we are feeding. We have multiple points. So, every other day somebody would come and say, don't feed dogs here, you dirty the place, you multiply the dog population, the bites are happening due to you, whatever. So all these things were taken care by her. I mean, to say she single-handedly used to manage the kitchen. It's not easy cooking such a large amount of food, supervising, packing the food, making sure that it is going on time. So I think it was her vision, her love for animals, and she could truly sense the pain of not being able to eat food or get medical treatment, that she started doing this on such a large scale. And I know one thing for a fact: if she would get to know a dog is in distress, there is no way that dog was not getting help. The dog would be picked up whether it's 3 a.m., 5 a.m., or 12 p.m. The dog will get help if she gets to know that the dog is in is in pain, has had an accident, or needs some medical emergency. She would ensure that all dogs under her care are taken care of. So it's only
Um,
because of her that I got that strength. And I think the only way I can carry forward her legacy is probably continue doing what she was doing with the same amount of love and respect.
Well, it's beautiful the way you have taken up her work. It's truly admirable. But don't you think we humans are acting as a bit of hypocrite when we say that cows are a holy animal, buffaloes are a holy animal, then we let them scatter all overnight and they're eating what basically this garbage and all. It's harming them, not only our environment, but them as well. So, what is your
So,
take
I
on
think
this?
we've gone away from our tradition, Vivek. If you see, like, I know of so many people who are probably a generation elder to us, or maybe, my grandparents' age. So they all used to tell me that, traditionally, whenever they were cooking food, they would take out the first roti or chapati for the cows and the last one for the dog.
Exactly.
What has happened is we've just gone away from our roots in an era of being modernized, in the era of being so influenced by the modern culture and the Western culture. We are forgetting our own roots. I mean to say, on one hand, you say that cows are to be worshipped, on the other hand, they are being slaughtered openly. On one hand, you want to find a black dog on a Saturday to give milk, and the remaining 6 days, the dog will not feel hungry, or you're just
Exactly.
shooing away the dog. So, I think this hypocrisy is very deep ridden, and we can't fight it. But my only thing is that, I don't want you to love them. Don't love them. I'm not saying go hug a cow or, save a dog. Don't harm them. Don't purposely run over them. And if a dog is taking shelter from a rain, let it sit. He's not going to bite you. I mean, till that, I have not been bitten by any dog, or I have. There can be cases where such things happen, but then you have to understand that a dog is a reflection of the society it's living in. Why is that only in certain areas do we get these news from, and why not? Like, dogs outside my house won't do that. I'm sure outside your house is not doing that. Somebody who gives them love and care, such complaints are not coming from those areas. So
Ma'am,
I feel that if you're going to beat the dog is going to retaliate. That's natural animal instinct.
what I certainly feel is dog will retaliate only if they're scared of you, only if they're scared of a persona. I have seen, I had a pit bull few years ago. He never used to bite anyone. I recall there were dogs, small dogs like Chihuahuas or even Labradors. They used to indicate him, like, you should bark or something. So, apart from that, this has never happened with him. But I have heard that as of now, that breed has been banned from Delhi NCR region, pit bulls, due to their
No, so there is
racism.
no such news that the Delhi NCR, the thing has been banned. The Municipal Corporation of Gurgaon did try to do that,
Yes, they
but
did
that
that.
was stopped. That was stopped by the Chandigarh High Court. So that order has been stopped. There is no restriction. Having said that, I think having any dog, irrespective of breed, you have to be a responsible owner. It will be very hypocritical for me to say that I have a dog who's of a certain breed and he will bite. No, any dog will bite if not trained properly, or if confined in an area, not treated properly. So the biting limitation is not to a certain breeds, and it also is very reflective of the owners. So recently we've been seeing so many incidents where in lifts, if I don't know if you remember the Noida incident where
Yes,
that
ma'am.
beagle tried to. So it's not the dog's fault, it's the owner's fault. If you cannot control your dog, don't take out your dog in a public area where he has the potential to, I would not say harm, because that beagle did not harm the other child. He probably wanted to play with him and tugged his bag, but then it was just constructed as if he is going to bite and he's about to attack the child. So with keeping a pet, similarly, if you're looking after strays, I think the human has to be more responsible in this relationship.
So, ma'am, when we talk about us being responsible, the government has passed a law that if you run over any animal on a highway, your license is about can be suspended as well as you can face jail from a term of 6 months to 18 months. So, do you think such decisions are very much in our favor?
See, it's in the favor, but at the end of the day, how many of us do report that? You know, you're talking about highways. There is no way of tracking down a vehicle. I would say that even in your colony, if a car is run over, police is so reluctant to even file a complaint, let alone taking action. We have to go to the extent of getting the CCTV footages out, getting the witnesses, taking the dog for a postmortem, which is not an easy
It is not
feature
easy
in
at
our
all.
country to do. It's not easy. So, it's like the government expects us, the caretakers, the caregivers, the lovers, to do everything. But they, at the end of the day, want no onus on themselves. They have no facilities which they provide us. Like even in, like if at 5:30 I want to take a dog, a stray dog, to a veterinary hospital, I would have no ambulances which are state run or government run. I would have no hospitals which are state run or government run. So the onus comes on us. We are like the lone warriors for these animals and fighting the government and the people around us. So it's good to have rules, but to implement on them on the ground, I think government needs to do more due diligence there to ensure that they are getting the rules are getting implemented. That doesn't happen.
Ma'am, when we talk of dogs, when we talk of helping them out, there has been a recent model that has been going around in the Delhi NCR region where they take a pipe and they just bend the pipe from the downwards, and then a stray can go and they can eat it. Okay, and what would be our responsibility is that we just make sure that those funnels are filled. Now, this can be replicated in our cities as well, but we don't have that much trees and not that much of initiatives.
So the problem when I say replicating these models would be the pipes would be stolen in no time. The pipes would just be stolen. B, the sheer number of dogs that we have, how many times will you go and refill them? See, the type of, and the type of food that is required for this model is extremely expensive. You talk about dry dog food, you can't do a large number of feeding in such a model. It's good for it's good probably for an office complex where you have only 1-2 dogs, then the employees decide to take care of them. But on a larger scale, I think the need of the hour is probably to have a systematic feeding system, because now with the garbage being sorted at the source, there is no scavenging source left for these animals. So whatever you see in the bins are actually not the food sources. These are other dry waste. So where do these animals eat food from? And it's so unfair for them to scavenge. You'll see them eating dirty diapers or any other dirty thing just to fill their stomach. No source of clean water. It doesn't harm to feed a dog. I don't think that feeding one dog a clean meal a day is a big challenge for any one of us. If everybody of us starts doing that, community kitchen like ours would not need to exist then. Every dog would probably get a meal from the lane they are living in. So I think we just have to be more kind and compassionate.
Do you think you guys are against the breeders of dogs who sell dogs for a high amount of height, who basically capitalize the dog breeds? So what do you prefer more, adopt or take it from a breeder?
See, the point is, there are both sides to it. Now, when you talk about a breeder, there are some breeders who call themselves ethical breeders. There are some breeders who would just breed and sell them. Now, right now, I don't think our country can afford more dogs. And even if a breeder is selling, there is no system in place which ensures that the dog who's been sold by a breeder, a fancy breed, is taken care of.
After COVID, what happens when you are going for a specific breed? There's a certain documentation of that particular dog. There's a Kennel Club of India that is based in Jullena.
So not 90%. Yeah, I know. So those would come under the ethical breeders category. Exactly. But having said that, there have been so many dogs whom we picked up from the streets who've been abandoned because there is no proper education. As when you get a dog home, the first and foremost thing is that it's a responsibility. Any irrespective of breed, a dog is a responsibility. It's going to be a child with you who's never going to grow up. Exactly. So you need to be aware, and he's going to be there with you not for 1 year, 2 years, at least for the next 10 to 15 years. That's their average lifespan. So you have to be a responsible owner. We picked up so many dogs who, when turned ill, old on the streets, have a life-threatening condition on the streets. I mean, if you ever come to our shelter, you'll see so many dogs of different breeds being abandoned because they could not look after their medical needs. So breeders can exist if there is a rule which monitors how they are producing those pups and what is happening with those dogs when they go to homes. So there has to be an end-to-end. Otherwise, there is no point. Imagine just breeding for fun and having 30 dogs looking for a home or just selling them for 2,000 rupees. I see no reason in that.
So, ma'am, few years ago, there are pets in the armies as well. The Army, Air Force, Navy. That's the RVC, Remote Veterinary Corps. So, what happens is after your pet service has been done to the nation, earlier, 10, 15 years back, they used to be euthanized, old age dogs. But right now, what's happening is that they have their own retiremental homes, the dogs, the mules, the horses, or either an officer who's retiring that can take the dog or the horse with them. So, do you think it's a welcoming step?
See, it's a welcoming step, but that is not happening all across, because I remember, I think this was somewhere around last year, the Jaipur airport wanted to auction their dogs, the dogs which they were in
Yes, ma'am.
the airport dogs. And I remember we intervened, we sent them a notice, and then that's the time when the auction was stopped and they were given to their handlers. It's a welcome step because, most of these dogs are highly trained canines,
Exactly.
and they come with a pre-existing
Mindset.
disease. They are not healthy. No, these dogs are not healthy because of their working hours, because of the way they've kept. Most of them have some end stage disease, end life disease. So, euthanizing is something which is not good. Yes, the change is there, they are coming up. They now either give it to an NGO that they've tied up with so that they can be taken care of, or there is an option for these officers to, take these dogs home. So that's a good step. And like they say that the others have served the country, these animals have also served the country.
Exactly.
So they should get a decent retirement life.
See, there were three instances of in the during the wars of 71 or 65 when three animals were even accorded the Veer Chakra and the Mahavir Chakra. So we cannot
Yeah.
deny them what they have done for our country, right? So what happens when we talk of dogs that are in service, their ages are usually cut short because you see the case of a Zoom
Yeah.
who actually tried to kill 2 to 3 terrorists in that very household. Okay,
Yeah.
he tried to kill them and he got killed. He received 2 to 3 bullet wounds. So that's not only a service, but I have seen that you have a very pretty big legal team as well. So what is their job on the team?
Yeah. So
I saw that.
we so we do ensure that whenever we take up a case, whether it's a cruelty case or any other case, it's done in the proper legal manner. Because most of the time people don't know what law entails, or how a case has to be proceeded. So we have a legal team in place which help us right from the start, from drafting a police complaint to ensuring follow-ups to representing us in courts, or even to sending legal notices. Because there have been times where we've not been allowed to plead or we've not been allowed to enter. So we do everything as per law. We do, like, we follow the High Court order to the T. So that is where the team comes in. If somebody needs any legal help, that's where they help them also. Because the sad part is that we want to change the law, but because nothing is documented, there is not a lot of database which supports our cause and the want and the need for the law to be changed. So we ensure that whatever we are doing is done in the proper legal way, that tomorrow if we go to any court, whether it's the High Court or the Supreme Court, we have the necessary documentation with us. And we can then prove to the court that we did what was required, but it's clearly not helping. So it's high time, we relook at the existing laws, we relook at the existing facilities we have and change the system.
So what do you guys wish to achieve in the coming year? What are your
A
goals at this
hospital.
time? A hospital.
A 24-hour hospital is what I think a 24-hour hospital is what the long and the short term goal of the foundation is now going to be. Because, we continue to feed, we continue to run 2 ambulances, but we realize that's not enough. 2 ambulances can't save the entire Delhi NCR dogs. And there are no infrastructure. I mean to say, we don't have a 24/7 hospital. We don't have a state of art hospital. And the ones which are available are unaffordable for people like us who wants to get a straight treatment. So I think my long term and short term goal is now only going to be have a state of art 24/7 medical facilities available for all kind of animals.
So when we talk of the medical assistance, suppose you see a dog bleeding out on the street, you take him to the hospital. So where do you guys take the dog?
So we have tied up with 3 vets, and then we have recently started a small recovery center in Gurgaon. which is a recovery center, come a old age home for dogs. So, a dog who's probably too old to go back to the street or has become blind, deaf, paralyzed for whatever reason, is a permanent resident there. And the medical cases that we pick up, we treat them and then we release them back. So this is the model currently we are working on. But having said that, 3 vets and a small center can't take the load of the entire Delhi NCR region. So what we are looking at is probably a 200 kennel hospital with all the facilities available under one roof. So that's going to be our long-term goal for the organization.
Ma'am, it's been a wonderful interview. I believe that when we start working on the field, we believe that whatever we have done, it's not enough, and we wish to do more. So this is the basic idea of the interviews that we are organizing as of now. The dream of Dream India Foundation makes sure that whatever you're doing, we're able to play our little part in it, right? So further as well, we will be able to do. So we make sure that you are able to get the audiences. What happens is every NGO is having such sort of resources, but they are unable to share it with themselves to make their impact larger on the ground. So in order to do that, these interviews were started. So thank you, ma'am, for joining us today on this interview.
Thank you, Vivek. Thank you.
This interview has been perfect one.
Thank you, Vivek. Thank you.
दिल्ली की न्यू फ्रेंड्स कॉलोनी में 36 साल की दिव्या पुरी रहती है, जो पेशे से तो ऑडिटर है, लेकिन उनका जुनून जानवरों को बचाना है। आवारा जानवरों को वो 2012 से खाना खिला रही हैं। उस दौरान भी जब कोविड-19 की वजह से लोग घरों में ही बंद थे। जानवरों के साथ उनका ये नाता तब शुरू हुआ जब उनके पिता गुजर गए।
मेरे पापा को कैंसर डायग्नोज हुआ था 2012 में, और वो 6-7 महीने के लिए बहुत सीरियसली इल थे और हम हॉस्पिटल में अंदर बाहर ही करते रहते थे। और क्योंकि मेरी मम्मी उनकी प्राइमरी केयर गिवर थी, तो उनका सारा टाइम उनके साथ ही गुजरता था। जब उनकी डेथ हो गई, उसके बाद एकदम से उनको ऐसा लगा कि लाइफ में वो अब क्या करेंगी। एंड आई थिंक उन्होंने क्योंकि वो इतने दुख से गुजरी थी, तो उन्होंने सड़क पे जो बिना घर के जानवर हैं उनका दुख समझा और उनको एक कोशिश करी कि और कुछ नहीं तो उनको एक साफ खाना एक टाइम का दे सके।
इन्होंने अपने पिता के नाम पर करण पुरी फाउंडेशन शुरू किया।
ये फाउंडेशन मेरी मम्मी ने स्टार्ट करी थी। मेरी मॉम ने इन कुत्तों को खाना डालना शुरू करा आफ्टर मेरे डैड पास्ड अवे ड्यू टू कैंसर।
लेकिन दिव्या और उनकी माँ कोविड-19 की दूसरी लहर की चपेट में आ गई। अलग अलग अस्पतालों में इलाज होता रहा, लेकिन आईसीयू में 13 दिनों तक जूझने के बाद दिव्या की माँ चल बसी।
हॉस्पिटल भी जब वो गए थे तो उनको यही रहता था कि पीछे से एटलीस्ट जो खाना बन रहा है और जो हम खाना बांटते हैं वो एकदम सही तरीके से हो। एंड जब तक वो कॉन्शियस थे वो यही पूछते रहते थे।
आज करण पुरी फाउंडेशन में रोजाना 75 किलो चावल और 45 किलो चिकन पकाया जाता है, जिससे उस इलाके के 5 किलोमीटर के दायरे में सड़क पर रहने वाले करीब सभी 400 जानवरों का पेट भरता है।